Hello YouTube, this is Financial Ben from thefinancialsurvivalist.com, and I messed up. I was doing my irrigation system and I didn't know I was supposed to put a pressure regulator on the drip irrigation system, so it probably had about 100 psi. Things were popping, pipes exploding, it was pretty nuts. Anyway, the box I put them in, they're packed in there so tight there was no room to work or add a pressure regulator, so I had to dig it all up and start over again. But that's okay. So this is my hole in the ground where I'm going to put the sprinkler control box, I guess. We have a ball valve right there, and then this is a filter, and then pressure regulator is the gray thing, an adapter back to PVC. Then we have everything else dry fitted over here. The adapter will come in right here, and then we come over here. I put this fitting on because that way I can take apart the whole unit if I ever need to pull it out and work on it instead of having to cut the PVC. And then the water comes down here, it splits at that T, goes over here for 2 valves, and then over here for 2 valves. Now, the guy at Home Depot said that these pressure regulators were not supposed to be under pressure all the time. Well, tough luck, because my pressure on my line is so high it was ruining, the valves couldn't even work. They have a max PSI of 80 P, so I had to put it before the valves. So if it explodes and I have to buy a new one, then it explodes and I'll buy a stronger one. But it's not that big of a deal. I think it'll be fine. I think it'll work just fine. In all the instructions and illustrations, because I read instructions this time, it had the pressure regulator before the valve, so I don't think it's a big deal. It should work just fine. So this is dry fitted. I'm gonna glue it all together and put the valves on, get them all wired up. I have my solenoids in a bag so they don't get dirty. So I'm using red hot glue. The great thing about this is you don't need a primer unless it's absolutely required in your by zoning codes wherever you live. Shake it up, see if you can open it. It's pretty easy to glue PVC. You want to put a coat on the outside of the pipe and the inside of the fitting, and then push them together and hold them for a few seconds. Now, the chemical reaction actually causes this pipe to bond together. And it's weird, if you ever push them together and you don't hold them together, sometimes they'll walk out and you can actually watch them expand and creep out. It's pretty cool. I know I have to use a ton of adapters because I'm lame like that. But so be it. Water comes in here. We got an adapter from the PVC to threaded, and then from 3/4 inch threaded to 1 inch threaded, which goes into the valve. 1 inch threaded to 3/4 inch threaded to 1/2 inch threaded. Yeah, I know. Anyway, that's the valve. Solenoid goes on top. Glue this part to the thing. Drip irrigation hose goes on that side. What's up? Okay, so I got it glued in there. Now I got to connect the solenoids and the watering hoses. Okay, now to turn on the water and test for leaks, I guess. Let's see if my valves work properly. Well, none of the valves seem to be leaking, which is good. So the water's on. No drips. Looks like everything's connected right. And the pressure was so high that the valves couldn't even keep the water back. It would just start going, and then eventually the pressure in the hoses would build up that eventually they would burst. So I'm gonna test these and see how it works.